My name is Alexander Evans, and I'm a Foreign Office diplomat, and I'm currently leading a review on Indian Ocean policy in London. I've just finished being Deputy High Commissioner to India, a job which I did for the last 3 years. So in my first SCS role, I was loaned by the British government to work for the Obama administration working on Afghanistan. Unlike many SCS roles in the UK, I had no people and I had no resource. I was there to provide strategic policy advice to the administration on Afghanistan. So the challenge I faced in that role was the challenge of impact and influence and drawing on the network of skills and knowledge from the British government to make a meaningful contribution to US policy. So being a Deputy High Commissioner in a very large post overseas is a mixed role. About half the job is policy and public diplomacy. So you're out meeting ministers, you're giving speeches, you're engaging with different visitors. And about half the role is corporate. It's leading a big mission in India, 950 staff, spread across 10 cities from 16 different Whitehall departments. In our missions overseas, we often have a mix of UK staff and staff from the countries that we're working in, and making sure that there's a single work culture and single behaviour set that is agreed is a challenge for leaders. In some countries we work in, a culture of frank 360-degree feedback that we use in the civil service is not something that's familiar to people, and we have to explain that when people join an organisation and make sure that our staff, all our staff, commit to the civil service values that we practice in the UK. So all of us are on a leadership journey in the SCS, and that means a constant commitment to learning and development. One of the tools we can use is, of course, the Civil Service Leadership Academy and the various opportunities that opens up. Digital skills are going to be at the core of SCS skills in the future. That's partly because of data analytics and the role that that will play in policy making. It's partly because digital channels of service delivery and of policy influence are going to become ever more important. The chief resource that SCS leaders can use in their learning journey is their own curiosity. If you're curious, you're going to reach out for new resources, you're going to reach out to do courses from places like the Civil Service Leadership Academy. But crucially, you're going to discover new concepts. One that I found useful was the concept of followership, which is thinking about how do people follow as much as how do people lead, and teaching us as leaders to think about following, because we do that as well in some of what we do. So one of the role models who influenced me the most was a former ambassador I worked for who displayed extraordinary judgment. And one of the things I appreciated about the way in which he approached really difficult questions or problems was that he would sleep on a decision and he would really consider it. And he would always think about the human dimensions of how decisions might affect people, both people as customers or recipients of policy, but also the people that he led and worked with. Almost all policy has an international dimension today. It's not just people who work in embassies and high commissions overseas, but it's people who work for mainline departments in the UK, regulators or executive agencies. And that's why a common vision and a common version of leadership across the civil service is really important. For the SCS, accessing the Civil Service Leadership Academy is a way of sharing insights on leadership, and in particular from the international dimension, sharing our understanding of how internationalised policy making has become. When you enter the SCS, you're entering the strategic leadership group of the civil service, and that means you need to be thinking strategically about how you operate. So the chief piece of advice I'd give to somebody new to the SCS is think about how you operate across your organisation as a whole and how you're operating across the civil service as a whole, and take that one step further. Think about networks beyond government as well.